Earth has a new ship and you're going to love it. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So last week's video was a fan fiction theory of how I thought they were going to basically save the crew of Destiny. And in that video I created a new ship, the BC-306 Horizon. And I thought it would be fun to theorize on what that ship would look like. What technology would be available, how many people it would be able to carry, how far it would be able to go. Now we already know it has a wormhole drive, so pretty damn far, but how is it powered? Well, I thought about it, I've designed it, and I hope you enjoy this. The BC-306 Horizon, the intergalactic battleship, will be huge by Earth standards. It will be 450 meters long, 195 meters wide, and will have a crew of up to 400 people. Now just to put that into perspective, the Daedalus is half the size, only being able to hold 200 people, and it doesn't have a wormhole drive. Some key features of the BC-306 Horizon are the additions of a new power source, that being an array of up to 5 ZPM modules, much like how Atlantis, the city ship, is powered. Because of this array and the size of the ship, it is actually able to travel a lot further than what Atlantis is. Being a little bit smaller than what Atlantis is, probably about 2.9 times smaller, the BC-306 can travel between galaxies much quicker. The way it does that will be through the Wormhole Drive, a new drive adapted from Lantean technology developed by McKay and Carter. Essentially how this will work is it will create a wormhole in front of the ship. This will then connect 2 points in space that the ship can travel through. The ship has Asgard shields, which means that whoever's going through the wormhole doesn't need to be dematerialized because they are protected, so they're not going to be subject to the vacuum within the wormhole. This means that the ship can safely pass through the wormhole on one side and exit on the other side in a different point in space entirely, very similar to how a Stargate works. The wormhole drive is located on the rear of the ship and is actually pretty big, which makes a lot of sense because it has to generate a wormhole large enough to encompass the entire ship. The power source for how this is possible is located at the front of the ship, in the middle in a ZPM array. Now I'm assuming at some point over the last 10 years they found a way to recharge ZPMs, and this is how it is possible for them to have more than one ZPM active at a time. Now as this is a theoretical ship, I'm going to add some limitations to it. The first limitation that I'm going to give to it is that it cannot just instantly travel between one end of the universe to the other. It has to do a kind of jump. Which is why in my fan theory it's going to take them 3 months to get from Earth to where the Destiny is. It can go pretty far, but it can't go that far in an instant. Which is why they need 5 ZPMs. It's going to take a lot of power to do the jumps required. Now whilst the wormhole drive is incredibly powerful, it is not the same wormhole drive from Atlantis. It is adapted technology made by the greatest minds on Earth, Rodney McKay and Sam Carter. They haven't quite figured out these limitations yet, but I think it adds to the story and it makes it a little bit more realistic. So essentially for them to get from where Earth is located in the universe to where Destiny is located in the universe, they will have to do a series of jumps. Each jump will require there to be a cooldown, much like the FTL drive on Destiny. They can't just jump. It's going to require a cooldown, which is why it's going to take 3 months. Now in terms of how the ship is designed and how it looks, it's an Earth ship. It's going to look very human. Think about how the Daedalus looked. It's grey, it's flat, it has a very Earth human-like quality to it. This is going to be a very similar ship design, with one caveat. The wormhole drive is going to be a big glowing ball of blue energy. Located at the rear of the ship, this is going to set apart all of the other Earth ships that we've seen before. This is going to be very much one of a kind ship. Now it is classed as a battleship, much like the Daedalus was, and has an arrangement of weapons. Thanks to the Asgard core, the ship now has much more advanced shields, energy-based weapons, and of course it will have an arrangement of Tauri-based weaponry as well. Now, unlike the Daedalus, it actually holds a lot more fighter jets. The Daedalus will hold anywhere between 8 and 16, whereas this can hold anywhere up from 50 to 100. It has a dedicated hangar bay, and that is why it is called a battleship, because it is more than capable of destroying anything that it comes into contact with, but on those small fights, it's going to be able to send out a large arrangement of fighters. Now, one addition to this ship is the fact that it also has cloaking technology. Now, this wasn't possible before, with the exception of the Odyssey when Daniel Jackson as a prior made it cloak. This is now a dedicated module that can actually turn the ship invisible. However, this does create some unfortunate side effects. It is using the same technology as the shields, much like what they did with Atlantis city ship, where they used the shields to turn the city invisible. They're using the same sort of technology here, which means when the cloak is active, the ship is actually more vulnerable. So it's actually used pretty sparingly, mainly for more covert operations. It's also equipped with the Asgard beaming technology, a long-range transmitter which can actually travel between galaxies. Another bit of tech that would have been created by McKay and Carter. I love those guys. And of course it has transportation rings, although as it is an intergalactic battleship, those rings are very rarely used because, well, the rings aren't in other galaxies, as far as we know. Now, in terms of the power output for this ship, it is able to hold, as I mentioned before, up to 5 ZPMs, exactly how Atlantis is arranged. Now, at full power, Atlantis is completely unstoppable. You cannot penetrate the shields. The weapons from Atlantis will absolutely annihilate anything that comes into contact. And with those 5 ZPMs in place, Atlantis is able to travel between galaxies using the Wormhole Drive, and that's exactly why they have them. With those 5 ZPMs on a much smaller ship, they're able to travel a lot farther in a lot shorter time. With the caveats that I've already mentioned, of course. This is the ship that I would love to see in a reboot of Stargate. This is how I want them to have developed the technology. I want them to travel further. I want them to go to different galaxies. I want them to get lost. I want them to have adventures using this ship, because this is the most powerful ship that the Tauri will have ever gotten. But what I want to know is what you think. Would you like to see this ship used by the Tauri? Or do you have any other ideas of how you imagine the BC-306 to be after watching my previous video? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would be very interested to find out what you think. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit like and subscribe, and whilst you're down there, consider becoming a fully fledged SciTrekker. Hit the join button down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week.